Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday Wind Down with Dan and Friends. I'm Dan Conger. I am the host of this webinar and YouTube show for people that like to be outdoors. People like to get together and hang out with friends. People like to talk about the outdoors, talk about gear. COVID makes it harder to do, so we're virtual. So tonight I've got two guests with me. I've got Kit and Katharina. Kit, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Kit Davis. What else do we need to know?
How long have you been active outdoors?
Probably for about 35 years, but really it was just like the last 22 that really ramped up, and now it's obviously the passion.
Right.
Outdoors. It's a happy place for most everybody, actually.
Awesome. Katharina?
Nice. Hi, I'm Kat. I still consider myself a pretty newbie backpacker. I just started in 2018. And I'm still on the verge of exploring a lot, outdoors and the gears.
Awesome. And quite honestly, that's kind of my idea today. Was I wanted to get a range of people that have been around. So Kit's been doing it. I've been doing it a fairly long time, but I did it earlier and then took a break from it during college years and then came back to it. Kat, you're relatively new, so we're going to have slightly different perspectives, and that's really what I wanted to offer tonight. I didn't want it to just be a bunch of old farts that have been doing it for a long time, or just a bunch of weight weenies, because sometimes they tend that way towards the super ultralight cottage stuff, but I wanted to spread it out. So tonight we are talking about the big three that you take out on the trail. So that's going to be your tent, your sleep system, not your sleeping bag, it's your sleep system, because there's more to it than just your sleeping bag, and then the backpack that you put it all in. So those are the big three. So Kat, you're the first one up. So let me prep the screen, and we've got your first image up, and then I got some questions for you. Okay. So this is your tent that you use right now. What is it?
It's a Big Agnes copper spur, 2-person. That's probably my, fifth or sixth tent that I've experimented with the past 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yep.
And do you have a 2-person tent? Why do you have a 2-person tent?
I love the space because
okay.
I'm not comfortable with leaving my pack outside my tent yet. I feel like it's gonna get chewed by animals.
Okay.
So I like the space. I like everything spread out, and I toss and turn when I sleep. So I kind of love the space of it.
Nice. That actually looks a little Mount Whitney-ish. Is that Whitney? Or is that what?
Yep.
Okay. The pinnacles look very. It's like, yes, it is.
Yes.
I've climbed that one and that one and that one.
Yeah, and everything's we pretty much. We were gonna summit that morning, so we left it open for the marmots. I mean, for those creatures, so they won't bite on our gears. So we pretty much cleared it up.
So you like the space. What else do you like about this copper spur?
I like the 2 doors, even though it's just me. Mm-hmm. I like that there's windows that I can just take a peek in the morning and what's outside. Yep, and it survived some wind and a little bit of snow. I take it to snow camp and I just modified it a little bit.
So the two doors is an enormous thing. For me, a 2-person tent with 2 people in it, it's a must-have to have 2 doors. I have a 4-season tent that I will sometimes use in the snow that only has 1 door, and it's really annoying to have somebody else in there with you. But I'm not willing to carry that heavy a tent by myself. So I think we got another picture of it. We do. Oh, that's very, very beautiful with the light there. Is that the same place? No, that's someplace different, isn't it?
It's different. This one's somewhere in Mammoth.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the setup in the evening, pretty much.
Right. So this is a freestanding tent, right? That It stands up on its own. It means it doesn't need to be staked out to stand up. So it's got that outer frame that we can see. Kit's is kind of similar. That comes up in a few minutes. And then it's got a rain fly that goes over it. So it's a double wall tent. It has the really good ventilation on there because it has a space between it. And then it has a bit of a vestibule, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I love that part, the vestibule part. And then the mesh, which I can just take off on hot days and just sleep without the rain fly.
Okay. Awesome. So tell us about your sleep system. So we've got a sleeping bag and a pad here. So tell us about that.
Yes, I am so happy that finally I think I'm settling for this sleep system because first it's a Big Agnes Roxyanne 15. I toss and turn a lot at night. And my problem before this was I slip off of my pad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I find myself on the floor and my pad next to me. So I'm just wrapped up in my sleeping bag. But this one, as you can see, the green thing inside there is the sleeping pad, this climate. And then, what do you call this? Yeah, so that's the first thing about that. I don't slip off. And then this sleeping bag, I can actually take it to snow camp because I'm a warm sleeper.
Right.
So 15 degrees is okay for me. But according to reviews, they said that this bag didn't keep them warm, but I guess they are really cold sleeper. And it is wide. I can toss and turn. And
Nice.
it's a semi-rectangular on the towards the feet. So pretty
And
spacious.
to be clear, that's all. You only have two things in there. We're not looking at the blue pad on your floor that stays, but
No. Yeah.
so you've got the green pad, and then everything else is a sleeping bag. Yes. So
Yes.
the sleeping bag has a pocket or a
It's a
sleeve.
sleeve.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. Okay.
It has a sleeve in there. And then yep. And it's still warm even though it has plenty of space inside. Like I didn't experience much air pockets in there because I can just zip it up. And what's good, if you unzip it, it lays over me like widely. It's not short on the side. So it still keeps me warm even though I'm unzipped.
Okay. Now, is there much insulation on the bottom, or is it relatively thin because that gets compressed? How does that work?
There's insulation in the bottom.
Okay.
My feet usually is the one that's hard to keep warm on my of all my body parts out there. But yeah, it's still warm.
Okay. Now, something I think is really interesting about this is you're kind of touching on how you sleep. It took a little while for you to figure out how you're going to sleep on the ground and while you're out on the trail. And
Yes.
once you kind of figure that out, that makes a big difference, because if you would have been in a tight mummy bag, like you start off, maybe a tight mummy bag, you don't have the room and you're sliding off the pad, having the lightest or greatest or coolest gear, if it doesn't work for you, it's not light, cool, and neat.
I sleep through the night. Like once I'm asleep at night, like I'm knocked out. That's the best thing. I don't have to wake up like, oh, it's irritating on my legs. I can't move my legs, and I can just sleep. I'm a side sleeper too. So this is a big help.
Kit, do you run into that too, where you wake up a lot during the night, or do you sleep sound through?
I always sleep the best on the trail. So only one thing will wake me up in the night, but it wakes everybody up in the night. You can't sleep through that. But once you get out and go and come back, then I'm good to go.
Okay.
So, but I agree with Katrina, which is I like to be able to kind of toss and turn. I'm a little claustrophobic anyway, so a real tight mummy bag does not work for me.
Okay, cool. So, and then I just love this next photo. This is great. It looks so cozy. Oh, that's awesome.
That's pretty much. It's, you see how wide it is. Like you can just wiggle around it, but it's warm. So, and then you can adjust the hood with that thing according to. Yeah.
I'm like you. I sleep really warm, and I got a 10-degree bag for winter and snow camping because I figured that's plenty warm for me. I got home and it was probably in May, so it wasn't even full summertime. I laid it out, I zipped it up, and I could not get out of there quick enough. I was not because I'm claustrophobic, because I was overheating in a 10-degree bag in the spring or summer. I was like, "Ooh, that was way too much."
I rarely zip this. I rarely sleep like that.
Now, in one of your pictures, I saw you had a Z light, a Thermarest Z light. Do you always use that, or do you only use that maybe for desert, or when do you use that?
I always bring it because I forgot to send you one of my pictures. I always bring it because if I want to take a nap, since it's always outside my pack, if I want to take a nap on a break, ta-da!
Okay. Yep. And it makes a good sit pad and all those sorts of things. Oh, awesome. That's cool.
Actually, we were on a a desert backpack with Doug to the Grand Canyon, and there was one morning where we could all have done whatever we wanted to do. And do you remember, Katrina? You took this down to the beach at Phantom Ranch, and she was just like the total vacationer hanging out there. We're like, oh.
Nap.
Little umbrella. Yeah. Oh,
Oh.
awesome.
She definitely drew attention. It was really good.
Oh. So okay, there's your pad on there. So and what's the backpack you're using here?
It's the ULA Catalyst
Mhm.
with the S strap. The S strap is specifically for women's. It curves to the chest, so it's more comfortable, especially with the load.
Mhm.
Yeah, nice.
That was our
And the Catalyst, does the Catalyst have a little bit of a frame to it, or some sort of suspension? Does anyone know?
Kit.
It does. Yeah,
It does have, right?
Yeah, it does. It's got the 2 stays.
Okay.
Inside. Yeah.
Good. And
I
then-
like it because it's light,
Mhm.
and the hip belt, the pockets are like big enough to carry stuff that are handy, like candies or whatever, and it's easily accessible.
Yeah, I can see you've got your water bottles in there. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only thing about it is it doesn't have much compartments, like the brain, the front like other pockets where you can organize your stuff. I have to use some cubes to organize my stuff inside, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah. And that's something that may change as, your habits change. And I know that my habits are changing. When we get to my pack, I'll remember to bring that up. Okay, cool. And let's see. So it looks like Grand Canyon on the one side, and then it's got to be Sierra on the right.
Temple Crag. That's got to be lake number 2.
2 Big Pine Lakes.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. Just going to point this out. I've climbed Temple Crag, what you're looking at. So.
What?
Is that the most pinnacly one, or?
Actually, that's a really hard one. That's called, I think, Sidewinder or something like that. It was slightly around the corner. It's on the face of it. You can't really see it. So.
Nice.
But it's like that.
Then it must be much easier.
Way easier. Yeah, that was super fun.
Awesome. Okay, Kit, you're up. This looks like your tent.
Yeah, this is my tent. Copper spur. It's exactly like Katrina's, only it's a single person.
Mm-hmm.
I did have I think the thing that I've gone through the most has been tents, and that's like every 4 or 5 years. So I don't go through equipment real quickly. Some of it is a cost thing, and other things are that I kind of bond with my stuff, and it always ends up working. Anyway, I love this. I did have a brief love affair with a Fly Creek, and I could not ditch it fast enough. I've never thrown away gear before or sold it or anything like that. I usually wear my gear out, and I could not get rid of this thing fast enough. I was on a backpack out past Cottonwood Lakes, and hit a rainstorm that was just nonstop for about 36 hours, and you couldn't sit up in the thing, and the vestibule was not enough to keep you dry. So.
Okay, I could see that changing your outlook on the tent that you own, if you couldn't set up and you were trapped in there for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm short-waisted, and so when I say I can't sit up, I really can't sit up. I tried it out inside REI, but I forgot to inflate the sleeping pad that was underneath it, and it was just enough, so I was like this. So it's just much.
So
anyway,
something I thought was really interesting about this picture, because this is perfect. You're on a slab of rock here, and you don't have any stakes in the ground.
None.
Right. So this is a freestanding tent, and this is really illustrating it.
Yeah.
Now,
it's the same trip that Katrina's on. Yes. We had to fit into tight little spots. I like the single tent because sometimes you just have to get into a small bivvy place. I really like that. I have no problem with my pack outside. I don't have to bring it inside. But I do like a little bit more room, than these really tiny tents can have. So I like how this is shaped. It does go down to a narrower foot box. That's fine.
Oh, I can see a little bit of that. Yeah.
And I love the height. This is the higher one. I think it's called the UL or something. Absolutely love that. I love the mesh. I love the breeze. I'm really in love with this tent. But yes, there's no stakes there. We did end up rocking our tents out, but we were just setting up right there. That's not much.
Right.
Is this the one that almost flew away?
That was the one.
So, which is a great time to bring up a comment that Dave made. He says, best practice is always stake out the tent no matter what they hate, just in case. And especially if you're going to walk away from a tent, that would be, yeah. I have also learned from experience that I guy out everything all the time, regardless. I just do it because I have found that from experience, just saying, that guy lines make all the difference in the world. And for me, just 2 guy lines will go from flapping to relatively solid. You know,
Yes.
when you're in 40 and 50 mile an hour wind, it's still going to be a noisy night. So that doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I like this tent because it does stake and guy out real easily. A lot of times when when you've got the preset lines to guy out, they're not constructed well enough. It still flaps on the bottom, but this one does. It doesn't.
So Big Agnes has been using this hub pole and hub thing for a little while.
Yep.
Is that pretty easy to set up? It looks like it would be.
Goes fast, super fast, super easy. I can literally just do one side, then reach the other.
Yeah. So it looks like what the 4 corners, the crossbar, and then everything clips onto that. So you set up the frame first and then just clip the inner right onto it.
Yep. Do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the top and the middle, and then just zip it up real quick.
So have you ever had to set up this tent in pouring rain?
Good question. Yes, I have.
Okay. How did you do that?
Well,
and
that
not
would
get
be the
and not get the
downside.
inner wet, or did you just get the inner wet and mop it up?
I had given it a dry run, at home when it wasn't raining to see how I would do it. And I realized the only way to do it is to do it quickly. So you can do it absolutely with just the poles on there. And so that's what I did do, but it was super awkward. And when I got underneath there, I realized I couldn't reach around and clip as easily as I wanted to.
Sure.
So that was actually kind of hard. So I actually think the best way to do it is just get it done fast.
So
I don't have a thing for that.
One that I discovered, we had a trip where it was raining and we had to set up in the rain. We had 4 people on the trip. 2 of us had hybrid tents where the outer was part of the inner, so that was a non-issue. But Rich and Sandra had a tent like an REI quarter dome or something like that. And what we did on that one is we flipped it over, so we had floor to the sky and so the floor was getting wet. Put the inner on it and then flipped it over, and that kept it pretty damn dry. And that's exactly what Dave said. Yeah, so that worked. You got to have somebody else. I don't think you could do that by yourself, but something to try out.
Okay, that's great.
Interesting.
Purple and gray.
Yes, this is pretty close to what my sleeping bag, just for summers in the Sierras, because there's a couple of different ways we pack if it's going to be cold, if it's not, but this is just general, is an REI 20-degree bag. And now it is down, it's probably almost 10 years old. I was looking back to see when I got it. I have no pictures of it, and there's nothing that looks like it out nowadays. So
Right.
this is as close. It's a complete rectangle. So not rectangle, but it doesn't narrow. Mine doesn't narrow down at the feet, but that's pretty close. And mine is down to about, I don't know, a third of a duck. So I am looking to replace this. And in our prep time, we talked about what we want to replace it with. And I really would like to replace it with a quilt, a single quilt.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been looking at Enlighten. Anyway, keep going.
Enlighten equipment. Yeah.
So
what's great about this picture is it looks like it's overstuffed. It looks like it's just bursting with, it's lofty. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I still have it, and maybe it's my loaner. Is I have an old REI 20-degree that was never rated to 20. It was before EN ratings, and same thing. It's lost a lot of loft, and at best it's a 20. It's at best it's a 30-degree bag, and even that, it's light at that. So, yeah.
I actually had another REI sleeping bag, again a 20-degree. And I was on a backpack, and it was just thin. It was nothing. And so that was when you could take it back to REI and they would weigh it. And it was supposed to weigh like 1 pound, 10 ounces. It weighed 10 ounces. It was less than half of its weight.
So that's different. You're talking 2 different things, right? So you're actually talking about losing down
losing
So it's going to
down.
weigh less. What I'm talking about is feathers being crushed. It's still weighing the same. They're just being small and bunched up. That's not, oh, okay. Well, yeah.
And I don't know about this one. I don't think I'm losing feathers quite to that extent. That was 20 years ago, and this is like 10 years ago. I like REI, but that's more about cost at the time. And now I noticed a comment about loving their enlightened equipment. And so that's
Yep.
where I'm going to go. All right, that's actually isn't my thermarest. Mine is like a pro
Well,
light.
you said yours is shorter than this.
Mine's short. It's for 5'6", but it's got the dimples. It doesn't have baffles. I'm not particularly comfortable with baffles, and I love this. So my sleeping system. Do you have the Evisote? Or the whatever it's Gossamer Gear calls it. That my sleeping system is that full length, more like a 6 foot. And then my sleeping pad, my thermarest, which is 5'6", and so that keeps me insulated. It's I love my thermarest, really love it. It's been patched several times. It's still going strong, and it's it's relatively lightweight for what I have. And and then I have my pillow system is under the I keep calling it Evisote, and I was just discovered that that's probably not what it's called. That's the generic.
That's a thermarest equivalent of this.
Yes, exactly. This is the Gossamer Gear. So anyway, so I love those two because I'm insulated and it's perfect. It doesn't slip. I love the Gossamer Gear, this Evisote thing, because I don't slip and slide all over my my tent. So especially if it's really cold on the ground, I don't want to be sliding off.
Yeah. So Kat, if you think you might want to lighten up a little bit, you might consider something to think about or test out on one trip is leave the bigger yellow thermarest at home and take this, because I do the same thing. I use this like Kit does as an underlayment for my pad, but I also leave it in an exterior exterior pocket, pardon me, so I can use it for naps or whatever, or I could fold it up and use it as a sit pad.
As long as I can use it for my nap, I'm on it.
Right.
I'm just gonna add the Thermarest, the Pro Light, the orange one. I have that too. I bring that when I'm so lazy to inflate because the climate, you have to manually inflate it. That one's like self-inflating, the orange one. So when I get to camp, like, boop, it will be ready later on. And it's not noisy because there's some sleeping pad that are it crinkles and make noise when you move throughout the night. Yeah, that one does not. So that's one good thing about it.
Pro tip on the Gossamer Gear pads: if you ever miss an insole or if you ever need a little padding for your pack, just cut it up. So Dave is talking about that some of these are full length. Mine is a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter. So someday I'm going to have to get a new one because it's going to be too short. But it's material to work with. Let's put it that way. And if you're MacGyver, it's like, well, of course.
I did the same thing, Dave, that you did. I use part of my Gossamer Gear because I'm not that tall, and I use it for a sit pad. So
nice.
Oh, nice.
So here's your pack. First of all, where are you?
We are on the top of, I think it's New Army Pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, a year and a half ago, and I happened to run into Karina. She had gone up another way, and we met at the top there.
That's awesome.
And, I know. It was absolutely fantastic. We were one of the first ones up New Army Pass. There was quite a bit of snow, and it was actually, I'm exuberant because it was a tough getting up. It was, really kind of scary. And then I ran into her. So my pack is also a ULA Catalyst, and it has the S strap. And I don't know, you're not going to be able to really tell. I got this at our PCT kickoff about 3 or 4 years before they didn't do it anymore. I want to say 4 years. And I bought it there, but they measured it for me. And I have a real small torso. I don't carry my height in my torso. And so they were able, I have a tough time fitting everything I need in my pack. So I'm one of the few people that has 0 frills in my pack. I just can't fit it. So it's so bad. Everybody's pulling all this great fun stuff out. It's like, I can't do it. And I like to have things kind of, clamp down, tighten up. But one of the other things that the guy did, Jeff, that, owned ULA at the time, he measured and he moved the straps in for me. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah, that was really wonderful. So this pack actually as you can see, that's my pack. And as you see down at the bottom, it is just ripped through. It's been patched several times. And finally, on the last backpack, the whole thing gave way. And I realized I can't get this thing mended anymore. Its time has come. It is literally, it's gone over 1,000
Have a
miles.
funeral for your pack. Yes.
Yes.
Life well served.
Well,
I know. It's
just a question though. I mean, the fact that your pack kind of blew up on the bottom has nothing to do with you overloading it or anything, does it? What the hell is with that climbing rope, girl?
I know. And I've actually got some gear in there too. One of the other reasons I really love that pack is, you shouldn't really load a pack up to 45 pounds, these lighter packs, but this pack can take it. And so this is my go-to pack for climbing backpacks. I'm looking at Cathedral Peak, and that long sloping side is an absolutely beautiful climb. But that's not the one we're going to. I just kind of stopped and was looking longingly at it because it's a fun peak to climb. But I can just load the thing up with gear. It still cinches down.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw a rope on top, and it still rides really well because of the hip belt, because of the shoulder belts. There's no rocking around. I really like that pack.
So I'm going to compare and contrast Kit's, enormous pack with some DCF or Dyneema material. So this is my tent, my most recent tent, and this is a Tarp Tent. It's not the Pro Trail. Oh crap! And then the name has escaped me. It's going to come to me as soon as I change off the slide. It's based off of the Pro Trail. Oh goodness! And it's a one-person, one-door, single-wall tent. Okay, so you got to crawl in from this end. I'm getting used to that, and we'll see. What's funny though is it has a lot of room. It is really, really wide. It's at least you could probably fit 2 small people in there, but you can have lots of room on the sides. So it's incredibly wide. Yeah.
Wow.
Uses trekking poles to set up. It weighs 1 pound, 1 ounce.
Oof.
So it's really light, but it costs some serious coin. And you know what? The name has not come to me, so I'll have to put it in the video. I'll put a little voiceover on, or a little label on this. It's gonna.
Have you had enough experience to know if there's condensation? Oh,
Pro Trail. Maybe it is the Pro Trail. That's what Kelly said. It might be.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right for some reason. Oh well. Here it is from the back end. Definitely pitches down, so you can barely sit up in the front, but if I go through a long rainstorm, I might feel the same way that Kit does. But I've been very, very happy with Tarp Tents, the brand. My last one was a notch made out of sil nylon, which had 2 doors. And what was kind of nice on that, there was no uphill or downhill. This one, you need to make sure you get your head needs to be uphill, because we all have done that, right? You've been on you couldn't tell the incline until you lay down. And you feel the blood rushing to your head. You're like, crap, I need to flip around. My sleeping bag that I'm using is a Z-Packs sleeping bag. And it's almost a quilt, but they call it a sleeping bag. But it's a no frills sleeping bag. So there's no draft tube. There's a 3/4 zipper and no hood. It's a very low frills, and it's a 30 degree. So it's definitely, I know Sandra is running like a 10 degree, I think is what she uses, very similar to this. And she sleeps cold, or I sleep warm. Although I had it down to 35 or 37 degrees. And what was amazing is without that draft tube, my butt pressed against that zipper was cold. I could feel that. I could feel that breeze right in there.
Yeah. By the way, with the third of a duck that I have, you and I were talking about this. You don't sleep in a lot of layers.
Right.
I usually sleep with lots of layers. I sleep cold, and so that's the only reason that sleeping bag has been lasting this long.
Yeah. So this probably rates, it's probably just as warm as my old REI bag is, but it's at half the weight, right? So this is right about 1 pound as well.
Oof. Mm-hmm.
So my pad that I'm using, are we seeing a weight weenie trend? Yeah, we are.
We are.
I'm using a Thermarest Neo Air, Uberlight Neo Air. I think I said it in the right order. Really thin material. The denier on this is I want to say it's like a 6 denier. It's really thin nylon, and it's so thin that it's kind of nerve wracking. And I was really nervous about this at first. I'm like, can I trust this? I was so nervous about it that I took it out to the garage and took 150 pounds of my work gear and put it on there and tested it over the weekend. I'm like, okay, it held. So it worked, but I'm still careful about it, right? I use that same gossamer pad and I always put it down. Even when I'm in the forest, I put that down on the ground first, and I can use it as a sit pad. So I got to go in there. Seeing Dave's comment about, do I cut my toothbrush? Only cut my toothbrush so it fits in my cup better, not so it's lighter. The pack I'm using is a Osprey, it's an Osprey Exos, and I think this is the 58. Yeah. Oh crap! Did I do this? I did this before. Yes, it's Exos 58. And what's funny is this is not the pack I have now. It's the same brand and the same model. This one I actually bought used from Jim Kurtz. I had some stuff. I sent it in for repairs, and they warranted it out with a very similar one, the brand new one. So they didn't repair it. So I threw in this picture just to show you that, yeah, you can carry weight on this too. I was backpacking by myself at Palomar and found that someone left this enormous roll of shade cloth. Like, leave no trace. I saw it. I got to take it. I got to carry it out. So I strapped it on the back. Unfortunately, I didn't have to carry it. I just carried it to the nearest trash can. So that's, let me get rid of this one. So we're just about out of time. So we are out of time. So I just kind of wanted to recap on it. I think hopefully we're all getting the idea that we all have different gear. There is no right gear, right? There's what's right for me and my situation. Kat has her situation, Kit has hers, and we're at different stages too, right? So I don't toss and turn like Kat does. But you might be more experienced or less experienced or have different experiences. Kit, with your rain, right? Mm-hmm. After you go through that's going to change the way you do that. For me, going through a windstorm in my tent, man, I'm always going to guide out. But once you've gone through those things and lived to talk about it, you're going to act differently. Anything else to add before we wrap it up?
I'm learning to go light soon. Saving my money for lighter gears.
Okay. Baby steps, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Because some of the stuff you trade for experience, like with the single wall tent, you got to have some experience on ventilating your tent, right? The first time I was in a single wall tent and I brought wet gear and it was rainy, I had like a little monsoon going on in my tent. Like, what's wrong? So, okay. Well, with that, we're going to call it a night. Kat, Kit, thanks so much for being on. We appreciate your time and thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Dan.
Okay. So we'll see you all next week. We'll be back with more fun and games next week. Take care, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Good night, you guys.